Very good evening, friends. Meeting again in the session of Robert's philosophy, and we are discussing the very important chapter, that is the homeopathic therapeutics in the endocrinology. This chapter he has devoted to the homeopathic field by explaining his own study related with the endocrinology at the same time with the homeopathic therapeutics for it. In the introductory part of it, he has explained regarding the endocrinology, its correlation with homeopathy, how closely it is associated with the homeopathy. Then he explained Dr. Werner, who has written the first book on endocrinology in 1937, the few paragraphs from his book. He has quoted over there, and the Werner himself explained that this is the new field, and there are a lot of problems in understanding endocrinology and its therapeutics. Allopathic dosage depends on the preparations which are in the material form, and as endocrinology is closely associated with the human emotions, to define fixed doses becomes rather difficult over there. And because of which it is not possible to find it out very fixed doses in endocrinology, and there are many problems in dealing with the endocrinal disorder. But when you compare this endocrinology with homeopathy, there is nothing different. Hahnemann have explained regarding these, without the names of the diseases or names of the syndromes, the approach remains to be the same. The therapeutic approach in homeopathy will be the same as we deal with any chronic disease, because we take into consideration the miasm, the constitution, the totality of the symptoms. We never give importance to the name of the disease for the prescription point of view. In order to understand endocrinology and its disorders, it's okay to know the diagnosis, but ultimately homeopathic prescription never depends upon the name of the disease. And that's why we have to approach with the endocrinal disorders, in spite of the name of the diseases, always think about the way with which we treat the chronic diseases. And in order to apply these therapeutics, he explains over there, one must be very much acquainted with the repertories. It is a good tool to find it out a right remedy or group of remedy. Second important thing, he has quoted one paragraph from the homeopathic journal over there, that is the British Homeopathic Journal in October 1938, where it has been mentioned certain things, how to approach with such types of disorders. And there one sentence which we have explained, that we should be very familiar with our remedies. That part which we have discussed at the end of the last lecture. What is acquaintance? Acquaintance with our remedies means having a thorough knowledge about each and every remedy. When we read the materia medica, our approach should think logically and correlate the disorders in relation with the remedies. If your pathology is good, then definitely you're going to find it out a close relationship of the pathology and pathological disorders with the materia medica. And then it becomes rather simple to think about the remedies logically. I will give one example. If you open your natremure from Borix Materia Medica, in the first paragraph only, to complete the paragraph, there is one word which is written, hyperthyroidism. See, natremure, where typical symptoms of hyperthyroidism are present. Losing flesh while eating well, cannot tolerate heat, or heat is getting evolved all over the body, palpitation, the heart pulsations felt all over the body. Typical features of hyperthyroidism are already there with the natremure, along with the one word hyperthyroidism written over there. If we go through the remedy in this manner, then we can very easily come to the conclusion of the remedies when we deal with the endocrinal disorder. The same is true when we think about the iodine. Again, a good remedy for hyperthyroidism, because the picture of iodine is very close to the hyperthyroidism. So, unless and until we think logically, it is not possible to correlate. Calcarea carb, when we think, it is a typical picture of hypothyroidism. Very close relationship of it comes to the hypothyroidism. So there are many more remedies in our Mathemedica. There are many more tools, and which not only palliates but which covers the whole case and cures the case. Whatever the allopathic supplementary treatment is there, that is only palliative. It is not at all curative. If hypothyroidism is there, it is forever for the patient in allopathy. Whatever may be the disease or name which you give to that disease, it remains forever for that patient without a complete cure. But when we deal homeopathically, there are a lot of chances, if we find it out a right remedy, to cure that patient completely. And this is what he is explaining. We were there on page number 246. Half of the paragraph from that British homeopathic journal quote, which we have finished. So there are three dots after which it has been said, to this end, we need a deeper acquaintance with our remedy. We are using practically the same Mathemedica that we did 50 or more years ago. We are using same Mathemedica which was proved by Hahnemann at that time. It requires no alteration, but it does need to be added to, not by additions of more remedies, but by fresh provings to pursue the action of our drugs into the realm of modern physiological research, and especially their action on the endocrine organs. See, this is what Robert is. Robert here explains every time the correlation of homeopathy, the old concepts, with the modern science. He tries to explain that unless and until we try to show our existence in front of world, it is not possible unless we correlate old concepts with the modern medicine. If we do a research, if we do a reproving, we must find it out what is the action of remedies on endocrinal glands. What happens after taking a proving dose of it? Here we are lacking. This is our lacuna. We have proved the remedies at the functional level only. We have not proved the remedy at the tissue level, cellular level. If one does such type of work, his name will be there forever in the field of homeopathy, if such types of tasks are taken. So see, these are very important things which Robert always tries to mention. But by fresh provings to pursue the action of our drugs into the realm of modern physiological research, and especially their action on the endocrine organs. If we do not increase our knowledge of capabilities of our drugs, our homeopathic art will become static. It will make no progress. And this courage is there to say in Robert, because he was the person who has complete knowledge about the things, and he tried to every time increase it by correlating all those things. We have learned that correlation while learning the disease classification over there. With every miasm, he has written one postulate, sorrow or deficiency. In case of syphilis, higher the atomic weight, more syphilitic is the remedy. In case of psychosis, double there are many double salts are there, and double salts and disturbed assimilation can produce a psychotic infiltration or growth. So such postulates and such type of study which Robert has shown, and because of which he has the right to say all those things, and he expects the same from you and from all of us, that unless we correlate modern science with homeopathic mathematics, we cannot go ahead. We are still using the same thing. We are still in 1842 with sixth edition of Organon of Medicine. We are not going ahead. My suggestion always to the student are there that if Hahnemann would have further life on this earth for another 20 years, we would have a 10th edition of the Organon of Medicine. Because he has put a path of experimentation, and with experimentation, he has changed his Organon of Medicine. It is necessary to do that in today's era. We have to go with experimentation. We have to find it out the reality, truths, and then we have to change certain things. And this is what Robert expects from all of us. It was our purpose to suggest several rubrics from both Kent and Bonnie-Hussein's repertoire that are peculiarly pertinent to the conditions we are studying. But when we were brought face to face, sorry, when we were brought face to face with widely varying array of functional symptoms manifested by these patients, it seems we can do no more than commend to you the repertories themselves and advise the physician who wish to cure his patient not to neglect these valuable adjuncts to the successful prescribing. In other words, when a cursory glance at the modern work on endocrine dysfunction covers such wide range of symptoms, it is impossible to limit the possible symptoms in even a few syndromes. Again and again, we are faced with the conviction that we are dealing with what we have already long since learned to know as a constitutional symptom, and we cannot think of few rubrics that might be useful without omitting others even more valuable. So we can only repeat, learn the value of your repertoire for the reference work, and you will be well repaid for the time expended. See, he is giving you a very, very important hint for your practice and for your study of homeopathy. Best tool is there with us, the repertories. Right from Kent till today, the complete repertoire or synthesis repertoire. Repertoire has evolved a lot, and we have ample to learn from the repertoire. We must correlate what are the common symptoms of the certain syndromes. What are the, if we repertorize all those common symptoms, what are the remedies which comes forward? Then accordingly, it becomes rather simple to do a work on it with some special symptoms or characteristic symptoms of the patient. And then we can prepare a remedy for endocrinal glands only or endocrinal disorders only. If our approach is like that, and if we study the repertories in this manner, we'll go lot of ahead than the rest of the pathies in treating the endocrinal disorders, because there are n number of remedies available with us. That is the big weapon with us, which is lacking in modern medicine. They don't have such types of weapons. They have very few remedies to tackle the endocrinal disorders. We have very ample remedies in order to tackle such types of disorders. Only thing is that what needed is the study. That study in depth, going in depth understanding of endocrinal disorders at the same time with the correlation of it with our materia medica, and also going through a proving for it. Then he further said, nor can we in one brief paper begin to consider the syndromes which we meet in our daily practice and when we recognize as having endocrinal relationship. What he says, just write down a name of the syndrome, write down what are the symptoms for it, then find it out what are the remedies explained in the repertories over there. Such type of work is needed. We may only sketch a few of these conditions with very restricted consideration of suitable therapeutic measures, and we may briefly outline few outstanding remedies having general influence on glandular structure. And hereafter, he actually starts with the real therapeutics of the endocrinal glands. So, up till now, he has explained the uh, introductory part, how one should go ahead, what are the different endocrinal disorders, how endocrinal disorders should be tackled as you treat any chronic disease. And then hereafter, he starts with really or actually homeopathic therapeutics for endocrinal disorders. The first to discuss, he starts with very common, that is the diabetes mellitus. Diabetes mellitus is the most common disorder of present era. I think there is no family spared from the diabetes mellitus. At least one person from each and every family is suffering from diabetes mellitus at present era. We have to work very hard in order to tackle that disorder. And there is a lot of scope when dealing with the diabetes mellitus with homeopathy. At least with type 2 diabetes mellitus, we should be very clear we can treat that with the help of homeopathy. But our approach is very much necessary. How we deal with the cases. It is not just giving or prescribing a remedy to the patient is the approach to treat the diabetes. Not at all. All things which you have to take into consideration. We have to take into consideration the diet and regimen of the patient. You have to find it out what are the problems, lacunas, or in fact, habits of the person, which because of which he has developed type 2 diabetes mellitus. You have to work on that. And then last important is the remedy. So when you deal with such types of disorders, it is necessary to understand that disorder first. You have to classify whether it is type 1 or type 2. If it is type 1, then you have constitutional medicine helps a lot in order to prevent complications, and you can reduce the doses of insulin many times in such types of cases. Even you can work for juvenile diabetes. There are many cases of juvenile diabetes are there. It is our duty to work hard on those subjects. There is one remedy throughout the Mater Medica explained for diabetes in children only. That is a single remedy rubric is there in repertory, as well as there is only one remedy mentioned in Mater Medica. Diabetes, juvenile diabetes. I am trying it in one patient and with very successful result. I have not cured him, but the fluctuations are controlled under that remedy along with constitutional treatment. And that remedy is Cratagus. Cratagus is mentioned in the Mater Medica for diabetes in children or infants. So there is a lot of scope to do a work in homeopathy. Only thing is that we have to read sentence by sentence. We have to understand the sentence. We have to correlate it with the disorder. We have to find it out how it uh, presents in that patient. Each and everything matters a lot when we deal with that. So hereafter, he starts explaining about the actual homeopathic therapeutics in endocrinology. The first condition which he starts with, just write on that paragraph side that diabetes mellitus. Probably the type of glandular imbalance we meet most frequently is diabetes mellitus. The accepted therapy is insulin, and it has definite influence on sugar output. Earlier, there was only one thought that it is because of insulin deficiency, diabetes is there. It was correct, but it was half correct. Because when they started giving insulin to the patient in order to treat the diabetes, for sometimes patients were better, and thereafter insulin was not at all working. In fact, there was increase in sugar even after giving the insulin. And that's why it failed. So what he says, the accepted theory is insulin and it has definite influence on sugar output. Yet, few physicians pause to consider whether this treatment is curative or merely palliative, a substitution therapy. Recent experiments indicate that continued massive doses of insulin may result in an increase of sugar following an initial decrease, and that it may remain at the fairly high level so long as insulin therapy is pushed. And this is what I am observing a number of times in patients who are dependent on insulin. There was one patient who came there was a call for me from Mumbai. Patient was there in Tata Memorial. She was there in front of Dr. Advani, and she was a old case of CA breast, done mastectomy with radiotherapy, with chemotherapy, and she was fine. She had never problem. After 5 years, she went for just checkup, And he has done the MRI and PET scan and all those things. And after that stuff, he explained that you have all secondaries all over the your body in bones, and you're not going to survive more than 3 months. Someone told my name. She called directly from Tata Memorial Hospital to me that I'm such and such person. I'm having all those problems, and it has been told to me, I want your treatment. I said, it's okay, but is it possible for you to come? No. She said, I will give you video case. She was right from Calcutta. So next day she went to her sister-in-law, where in the Baroda, and from there she called me, and we have video call. And she was a lady whose weight was 96. She was known diabetic. She was known hypothyroid. She was known hypertensive, and along with that, CA breast with metastasis now. And she was on insulin, 16 units in the morning, 16 units in the afternoon, 18 units in the evening, and lente insulin 20 units. This was the dose, and even after that, sugar was 350 to 400. She was not getting cured because insulin was not working. I asked her to, the way I will suggest you have to start with, and you have to follow my diet, and then you will come out of it. Are you ready? She said, yes, sir, definitely. I want one thing from you. It was in the month of January when she called me, and she said that doctor has said I have only 3 months in my life. My son's marriage is in December, and I have to dance in his marriage. What what can you do for me? I said it's okay, but you have to change your daily routine, everything. I will suggest all of details. Then it was, I've started her, I've explained her diet, and I asked that you reduce the half of the dose when you take the first thing, and you start with the diet. First dose was given half of it, 8 instead of 16, 8 units only. Asked her that it should be taken before lunch, no breakfast. In the afternoon, she checked the sugar, called me, it was normal. So I asked, omit the dose, afternoon dose. Then evening, I asked her again to do a checkup. It was normal. I said, don't take a dose and just take a dinner. Again in the morning, she called me that sugar is normal. I said, don't take a dose. And right from the first dose only, it was stopped. Insulin was stopped. And her blood sugar remained normal after after explaining the diet. So this is how it has changed, and this is how it was worked. So very important thing was that this change has happened because of the because specifically of the insulin. And there are many cases where such insulin poisoning or insulin dependence have happened. So this is what is the present day situation. A case recently observed provided the interesting phenomena of a marked decrease of sugar output when patient was forced to do without her insulin for few days, and that when she returned to decreased insulin doses, the amount of sugar remained at much lower level than while she was receiving massive doses. A series of observations on patients under homeopathic care would be very valuable. And I have seen same changes in my patients in the similar manner. When I stopped the insulin, it works so nicely. So I started explaining about the first condition, endocrine condition, that is diabetes mellitus. In tomorrow's session, we're going to learn the remedies for diabetes mellitus, and that will work very nicely, and that will be useful for us in the study. Sir has asked one question that cratagus for type 1. It is not type 1 cratagus. It has been mentioned that it is a diabetes in children. And if it is juvenile, it is called to be a type 1 only. But it never cures, but it controls the sugar very nicely in a normal manner. Because generally in juvenile diabetes, the sugar levels are fluctuating. At one time, they might be very hypo, another time they may be very high. This fellow to whom I have started Cratagus, in the morning there was call that we have to treat homeopathically. His blood sugar was 750. And he came to me at 11 o'clock. 11 o'clock, he was just yawning. I said, we'll check the blood sugar. And his blood sugar was 45. So such a fluctuation, big fluctuations happens in juvenile diabetes. And it was settled after using the Cratagus for years together. So this is my experience about the Cratagus. I have used along with that the constitutional remedy and made the difference in him. So that's all for today. Tomorrow we'll continue with the rest of the therapeutics for diabetes and how he explains how to go ahead with the repertory. Be there with the repertory so that we can discuss both the repertories. You must have the in your mobile the synthesis at the same time Kent's repertory in front of you so that it will be interesting to go through the repertories at the same time. So thank you and good evening.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir. Have a good evening.
Thank you.